Scott Hanson is with me today. And Scott, I have a quick question for you. Who is one guy that every fantasy manager should be keeping an eye on during week one of this NFL season?
Ooh, good question. Hey, Dave, good to be with you. How about we start right at the top of the fantasy football food chain? Probably in PPR leagues, the number one draft pick was either Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, or maybe Christian McCaffrey. So I'll say CMC. Coming back off the injury, week one, we're going to see what does he look like? Does he look like McCaffrey? How do they use him in the offense with a new quarterback? And we could find out in week one if the guy who's been the best player in fantasy football is back to that level.
Yeah, man, coming off an injury, we got a new quarterback, some new weapons over there. All eyes will be on Christian McCaffrey. But anyway, the guest that I have on today, I don't think he needs an introduction, really, but I am with Scott Hanson, the host of NFL Red Zone channel, and you can follow him on Twitter at Scott Hanson, Hanson. Beginning today on NFL Network, today being Monday, August 23rd, NFL Red Zone replays every Sunday of the 2020 NFL season in chronological order for 17 consecutive days through September 8th, with editions airing at 8 a.m., 3 p.m., and 10 p.m. Eastern every single day. So, Scott, how can fans get access to NFL Red Zone if they don't have it already?
Yeah, so you want to go to NFL.com/RedZone. I think also /RedZone TV. But if you just go to NFL.com and search NFL Red Zone on there, you're going to find the pathway to get it into your home. And I would encourage you to do so, because there's not a week that goes by that people don't tell me, Scott, Red Zone, it's the best way to watch football. It changed the way I watch football forever. And that's a gratifying thing to hear.
Especially being, this being predominantly a fantasy football show, we love Red Zone because that's what you want to see. Is you want to see your guys scoring touchdowns. So I'm sure everybody that's watching this is well aware of who you are. But I just have a question for you, Scott. Just walk us through the day, because from our end, it is just you going nonstop for 7 hours. Is there any downtime throughout your day, or is it really as chaotic as it looks from the fans' standpoint?
I have to build in my own downtime, and the way that an NFL Sunday works for me is the only downtime I have is early in the morning. So I'm talking to you from Los Angeles, California. We operate here, obviously, on Pacific time. That means the games kick off at 10 a.m., right? The 1 o'clock Eastern window kicks off at 10 a.m. So my alarm clock usually goes off at 5 a.m. on Sunday morning. I usually can't sleep the night before the show because I'm so wired, so excited. So usually around 4 a.m., I'm already kind of already awake, waiting for the alarm to go off. Jump in the shower, throw on some clothes, head to the studio, and I have some breakfast there made for me in the morning, which is the same breakfast that I have all the time, which is dense proteins and salty proteins, so I can retain water, so I don't have to go to the bathroom. And I like to be the first one in the studio, go over all my notes and whatnot. We have a production meeting at about an hour before the show begins, and then we rock and roll for 7 straight hours. And from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m., my day is exactly what you see on the television there. And it's fun.
That is incredible, man. As we all know, 7 hours of commercial-free football. It is the best way to watch it. But, you get on these shows all the time, and you talk a lot about football. But something that really piqued my interest was when I went on your Twitter page, and I saw your banner photo, is you atop Mount Whitney. And for anyone unfamiliar, that is the tallest peak in the contiguous U.S. I live in Colorado. I'm quite a mountain climber myself, but I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. Outside of Whitney, have you done any other big peaks?
Yeah, and I'm not a mountaineer by any stretch of the imagination, but I love the mountains. I love the air. I love the challenge of a tough climb or a tough hike. I love the beauty that you get to see from being up there and earning the view that you have when you're on the top of a peak. And I had heard about the Whitney climb, and so I decided to do that up and back in the same day, which they usually recommend do not try it up and back in the same day. But I'm stubborn and was able to push through. But probably the most interesting one I ever did was Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa, which is the tallest peak on the continent. They call it the roof of Africa. And Whitney was up and back same day. Kilimanjaro is 4 days or 5 days. And you go with a guide and you go with porters that carry all the gear and all the food and whatnot, because it's pack in, pack out, meaning anything that goes up the mountain. If you have chicken on night 2, someone's carrying that chicken bone back down the mountain at the end of the climb. And when you get to the top of Kilimanjaro, it's breathtaking because you start the climb on day 1 in the African plains. You know, I'm talking zebras and lions and giraffes and whatnot. But as you climb, as you gain altitude, the ecosystem changes. And you climb through, I think it's 4 or 5 different ecosystems. And at the top, it is Arctic glacier. It's stone and ice. And that's it. That's up there. There is no wildlife. There is no plant life. And human life can't even survive very well up there in the thin air for that long. But when you get to the peak and you see the sunrise, you're the first person on the continent to see sunrise. Dude, you can see why Hemingway wrote about it. Let me put it that way. It's awesome.
Yeah, I can only imagine. It was something that I had never even really thought about doing. And then I moved out here and everyone was like, there's these 58 peaks that are over 14,000 feet tall. And they said part of being a Coloradoan is you need to climb one. So my wife went out there. We found the easiest one. I just Googled the easiest 14er. We got up there and you can't put it into words. It's one of those things that you just have to experience for yourself. Since then, I have been hooked. I'm about halfway through those 58 peaks, hoping to knock them out within the next couple of years. So if you're ever in Colorado, hit me up and we can go bag one of those together.
We can do a 14K. That'd be fun. Yeah,
absolutely. So anything else on the docket that you're planning coming up? I know you said you were in Iceland last year. You got any other big climbs or treks that are planned?
Yeah, I guess the funny thing about me is that when I take a summer vacation, and I usually go on vacation when the NFL players are on vacation, so like June, early July, before training camps begin, I'm not a real big, go to a resort and just sit on the beach type guy. I like to do some stuff that makes the heart pound a little bit, like Kilimanjaro or whatever. And so I've done some extreme vacationing. I've run with the bulls in Pamplona, Spain. I've gone great white shark cage diving off 200 miles off the coast of Mexico and some islands that they have out there where the great white sharks congregate. I've done gone into the Amazon jungle and lived in the Amazon jungle on a boat on the river for a couple of weeks. And then just recently I went to Iceland. I just celebrated my birthday in June and went to Iceland and went scuba diving down into freezing water. And when I say freezing, if it was 1 degree colder, it would be ice. That's how cold this water is. Went down in there. And in Iceland, where the tectonic plates pull apart, where Europe separates from North America, there is an area where glacier water has flooded down in there, and you can scuba dive down into the fissure in the earth. And there's a narrow part where you can literally take your hands and your left hand can be touching North America and your right hand can be touching Europe, or the other way around, depending on which direction you're facing. And so I went and did that this summer, and that was a heck of an adrenaline rush too.
That sounds so. When they had the idea for NFL Red Zone, my guess is they said, "Who is the most extreme guy that we've got on this staff?" And obviously, it was just you, and that's how you got the Red Zone job, huh?
Yeah, crazy, extreme, and strong bladdered. Those were the 3, and you had to love football, of course. But those were the requirements.
Well, you checked all 4 of those boxes. And, like I said, I could speak for anybody watching this show right now. We absolutely love watching you on Sundays. It is my favorite way. I know that you're busy and got a million other things to do, but I got to ask you one more question. You and Andrew Siciliano, no weapons, just cage match. Who's coming out of there alive?
Did you have Siciliano on the show? And what was his answer?
I haven't, but I'm trying to book it.
See, so I can't be the first one to answer that question.
All right.
Fair enough. Andrew's my guy. So yeah, people think there's a rivalry. People think there certainly isn't from my standpoint. I think Andrew's a great football mind. If you get to see him and watch him do his programs on NFL Network outside of the Red Zone channel on DirecTV, he does fantastic work there. He's a fellow Syracuse grad. And so, yeah, he and I, we get along, and I always, when I bump into him, I'm always like, we're the only 2 people on the planet that knows what it's like to do what we do. And so from my standpoint, there's a heck of a lot of respect towards Andrew, but I would take him downtown to Chinatown if it ever came to a steel cage match.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear, Scott. But anyway,
Yeah.
I know you're busy prepping up for the season. I will be sure to be watching some of these replays just to scratch that itch. We don't have football yet, but watching last year's Red Zone will make me feel some type of way. Yeah.
We had over 1,000. We had over 1,100 touchdowns in 2020. So if you have NFL Red Zone fans, flip on the channel that has NFL Red Zone right now. You're going to see 2020 once a day. You're going to see a different week leading all the way up to the 2021 season. I think our total was 1,119 touchdowns, our all-time record for a single season. You'll get to see Derrick Henry with the 2,000-yard season. You'll get to see Brady's first snaps with the Buccaneers. You get to see, all the fantastic moments that we saw. It was a fun season, and it'll get you juiced for the 2021 season.
So are you taking the over or the under for 2021? Are we expecting more than 11-19 this year, or what do you think?
Well, of course I'm taking the over because we're going 18 weeks this year. With the 17th game added, we absolutely should go over. We should go over 1,200 touchdowns perhaps this year. So, yeah, give me the over. Now, if you do it by touchdowns per week, 66 touchdowns per week is what we averaged last season. And I would still take the over, and here's why. I am hoping that we don't see the rash of injuries to key fantasy football players the way we did last year. McCaffrey out for the extended period of time. Saquon Barkley barely saw him. You had Dalvin Cook missing time. You had other big name players that were either lost for the season or a good chunk of the time. I'm obviously hoping none of that happens this year, and that the best weapons in pro football get to display their stuff, which leads to more touchdowns for us.
Exactly. More touchdowns and hopefully a 5.5% pay raise for you having to do this extra week this year.
My man. Yeah.
Well, Scott, I will let you go, but thank you so much for coming on today. Glad we were able to link up a little bit. And a reminder to anybody watching, beginning today, NFL Red Zone is replaying every Sunday of the 2020 NFL season in chronological order for 17 consecutive days. You can catch that at 8 p.m., 3 p.m., and 10 p.m. Eastern time every day until kickoff. Scott, thank you so much for coming on today. Appreciate you making the time, and I will see you in a couple weeks on Red Zone.
Dave, great to be with you. Keep up the great work, entertaining and informing your audience, and we'll see you for every touchdown from every game.